There is a 5-minute window every single morning where your subconscious mind is essentially wide open, like a door left unlocked. And here's what almost nobody realizes: whatever walks through that door in those first few minutes after you wake up sets the blueprint for your entire day. Not your intentions, not your goals, not your to do list. Whatever feeling you inhabit in that window, that's what programs you. And most people use those 5 minutes to check their phone, to scroll through news headlines designed to make them anxious, to read a text that puts them into a reactive, stressed out state before their feet even hit the floor. And they have no idea that they just handed their subconscious mind its marching orders for the next 16 hours. There was a man named Neville Goddard who figured this out in the 1940s. He didn't call it a morning routine. He didn't call it meditation or mindfulness or any of the words we use today. He called it the state akin to sleep, or SATS. And he said something that, once you really understand it, changes how you treat every single morning for the rest of your life. Let me write this on the board because I want you to see it. He said, "Whatever you have in consciousness as you go to sleep is the measure of your expression in the waking 2/3 of your life on earth." Now, everyone who studies Neville focuses on the sleep part of that teaching, the nighttime practice, fall asleep in the wish fulfilled. And that's powerful, that's real. We'll talk about that in other videos. But almost nobody talks about the reverse. What happens in the morning when that same subconscious door is still open and you're walking out of sleep back into waking consciousness? That morning window is where most people silently, unknowingly undo everything they built the night before. So let's talk about why, and let's talk about why your affirmations probably aren't working the way you think they should be. Here's what most people do with manifestation. They set aside maybe 10 minutes at night, maybe 10 minutes in the morning, and they visualize. They repeat affirmations. I am wealthy. I am loved. I am successful. I am abundant. And then they spend the other 23 hours and 40 minutes of their day in a completely contradictory inner state, worried about money, frustrated with their relationship, telling themselves they're behind, comparing themselves to people online. And then they wonder why nothing's changing. Neville had a term for this. He called it your mental diet. And he was blunt about it. He said, if you do not like what is happening to you, it is a sure sign that you are in need of a change of mental diet, not a change of strategy, not a change of actions, a change of mental diet, meaning the thoughts you're feeding yourself all day long. He understood that your inner speech, those mental conversations you carry on with yourself constantly, is the actual creative force shaping your life. He said, speech is the image of mind. Therefore, to change his mind, he must first change his speech. By speech is meant those mental conversations we carry on with ourselves. That's from his Mental Diets lecture, and it's one of the most important things he ever said. But here's what Neville actually meant by this, and it's where most people miss the critical piece. When affirmations don't work, here's the specific mechanism behind the failure. You say, I am wealthy, but the feeling underneath that statement is lack. Your conscious mind is producing the right words, gold star, but your subconscious mind isn't listening to words. It's registering feeling, and Neville was absolutely crystal clear on this point. He said, the subconscious is not concerned with the truth or falsity of your feeling. It always accepts as true that which you feel to be true. So your affirmation says, I have it. But your feeling says, I desperately want it, which means I don't have it. Which one do you think your subconscious believes? The feeling wins every single time, no exceptions. That's why you can affirm for months, even years, and see nothing change. You were given the right words, but nobody explained the state those words need to be delivered in. If that's been your experience, doing the work, saying the right things, feeling like nothing's moving, it's not because you're broken. It's not because this doesn't work for you specifically. It's because the actual mechanism was never properly explained to you. So let me explain it now. Let me draw this out because I think it helps to see the structure of what's actually happening. Think of your day as a horizontal line. On the left end, you have sleep. On the right end, you have sleep again. And at both of those transition points, there's a gate. Let's call the morning one gate 1 and the evening one gate 2. Gate 2 is the one everybody knows about. That's the nighttime SATs practice. Fall asleep in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Impress the subconscious as you drift off. And that works. That's legitimate. That's powerful. Neville taught it extensively. But gate 1, the morning gate, is equally important, and almost nobody is deliberately using it. Here's why it matters so much. When you first wake up, your brain is transitioning from theta brainwave activity, that's deep subconscious territory, that's where dreams happen, into alpha, and then eventually into beta, which is your fully awake, analytical, critical mind. That transition doesn't happen instantly. It takes several minutes. And during those minutes, your subconscious is still the dominant operating system. Your conscious mind, the part that argues, that doubts, that says, be realistic, that overthinks everything, it hasn't fully come online yet. It's like the security guard is still on a coffee break. Think about what that means. Whatever state you enter during those first few minutes doesn't get filtered through your critical faculty. It doesn't get argued with. It doesn't get cross-examined. It just goes straight in. No resistance. No, yeah, but. No, that's not realistic. It just lands directly into the subconscious. And Neville understood this. He knew that the morning wasn't just waking up, it was a creative act. The first feeling you sustain upon waking is the assumption your subconscious carries forward into the rest of the day. And as Neville taught, and this is the law of assumption at its most fundamental, an assumption, though false if persisted in, will harden into fact. That's not a metaphor. That's the operating principle of consciousness itself. Now I need to clear up what might be the single biggest misconception in all of manifestation teaching. Because this one misunderstanding is why most morning routines fail. And once you see the distinction, you can't unsee it. Let me write this on the board. Visualization does not equal feeling. Most people think the work is seeing pictures in their mind. They close their eyes and try to construct a high-definition movie of their ideal life. The house, the car, the relationship, the bank account. And when the movie isn't vivid enough, or when they can't hold the image clearly, they think they're doing it wrong. They think they're bad at this. But here's what Neville actually meant when he talked about imagination. He never said visualization was the key. He said feeling was the secret. That is literally the title of his most important book. And the distinction between those two things matters enormously once you understand the mechanics. Visualization is the conscious mind constructing images. It's an active, effortful process happening in the front of your brain. Feeling is something completely different. Feeling is the subconscious mind accepting a state as real. You can visualize a mansion all day long and your subconscious won't budge because the underlying feeling tone is still, I'm imagining something I don't have. The very act of trying to visualize it vividly is confirming to your deeper mind that it doesn't exist yet. But if you can generate the feeling of security, of arrival, of it is done, of that quiet satisfaction that comes when a problem has already been solved, even without a single clear picture in your mind, your subconscious accepts that as the truth about who you are right now. And once it accepts that, it begins restructuring everything. Your assumptions, your behavior, what you notice, what you ignore, the opportunities you recognize, the actions you take without even thinking about it. All of it shifts to match the new feeling. Think about it this way. Have you ever woken up from a dream where something wonderful happened? Maybe you got a promotion. Maybe someone you'd been missing was back in your life. Maybe you came into a large sum of money. And for the first 30 seconds after waking, you still felt it. That warmth, that relief, that everything's okay and my life is working out sensation. Your whole body was relaxed. Your mind was at ease. And then your conscious mind kicked in and said, oh, wait, that was just a dream. And the feeling collapsed instantly. That 30-second window where you felt it completely before your analytical mind argued against it, that is the state Neville is talking about. That is the state akin to sleep applied to the morning. The feeling was real. Your subconscious accepted it totally. The only reason it dissolved is because you allowed your conscious mind to overrule it. But what if you didn't let it collapse? What if, instead of letting that critical voice dismiss the feeling, you held on to it, extended it, deliberately sustained it for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes? What would happen to your subconscious blueprint then? There's one more piece of this that most teachers skip entirely, and honestly, it might be the most important thing I say in this whole video. Let me write this up here. Speed equals naturalness. Neville said something brilliant in The Power of Awareness that I think about almost every day. He said, the time it takes your assumption to become fact, your desire to be fulfilled, is directly proportionate to the naturalness of your feeling of already being what you want to be. I need you to really hear that. The speed isn't determined by how vivid your visualization is. It's not determined by how intensely you want it. It's not determined by how many hours you spend meditating or affirming. It's determined by how natural the new state feels to you. This changes everything about how you approach the morning practice. You're not trying to manufacture some extraordinary mystical experience every morning at 6 a.m. You're not trying to force yourself into an emotional peak state where you feel euphoric about your future. That's actually counterproductive because euphoria isn't natural. Euphoria is a visitor's emotion. It's the feeling of someone who is amazed to be somewhere, not someone who lives there. What you're actually trying to do is make your new assumption feel ordinary. Feel like just who you are. Feel like it's nothing special because it's already been true for months. Neville compared it to residency. He said most people make the mistake of visiting their desired state like a tourist. They spend 5 or 10 minutes there through some imaginal exercise, get a little taste of what it might feel like, and then they go right back to their old familiar state for the rest of the day. But you don't manifest by visiting. You manifest by moving in, by establishing residency in that new state of consciousness so completely that it stops feeling like a technique and starts feeling like home. And the morning is the single best time to establish that residency. Because every single morning you get a fresh start. Your subconscious has been processing all night. The old analytical patterns, the habitual doubts, the familiar worries, they haven't re-engaged yet. Your slate is as close to clean as it gets. It's the perfect moment to wake up and simply be the person you've decided you are. Now, if this is clicking for you, if you're starting to see how these pieces fit together and why this is so different from just repeating affirmations in the mirror, consider subscribing. I break down Neville's actual lectures, his specific techniques, the principles that most channels don't touch because they require you to actually think, not just feel good for 10 minutes. Every video on this channel goes this deep into the real mechanics. So if that's the kind of learning you want, subscribe, and let's keep going because I need to give you the actual protocol. Here's exactly what to do. Tonight, before you go to sleep, set your alarm for 15 minutes earlier than you normally wake up. That's it. 15 minutes. And when that alarm goes off tomorrow morning, here's the protocol. I'm going to number these on the board. Step 1. Don't move. When you wake up, do not reach for your phone. Do not open your eyes if you can help it. Do not sit up. Stay exactly as you are. You're still in that transitional state, theta sliding into alpha. And the moment you start engaging with external stimuli, the moment light hits your eyes and your hand grabs the phone, that subconscious window starts closing. So just be still. 2 minutes, that's all. Step two, catch your default state. Before you do anything deliberate, notice what you're already feeling. What state did you wake up in today? Are you anxious, neutral, heavy, restless, dread about the day ahead? Don't judge it. Don't try to fix it yet. Just notice it. This is important because this default state is what Neville called your composite attitude of mind. It's the sum total of yesterday's unresolved reactions and feelings. So, this is the state that, left unchecked, would run your entire day on autopilot. And this is exactly what you're about to deliberately overwrite. 1 minute. Step 3. This is the core of the whole practice. Construct the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Ask yourself one question. If my deepest desire were already fulfilled, what would I feel right now lying in this bed on this morning? Not what would I see. Not what would be different in my room. What would I feel? Would I feel relief, calm certainty, gratitude, security? That quiet satisfaction of course it worked out, I knew it would. Don't force a movie in your head. Don't stress about making images vivid. Just generate that tone, that emotional hum. Neville's instruction was precise. He said to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Not wish for it, not hope for it. Assume it. And to assume something means to take it as given, to treat it as already true before you have any evidence. If a scene helps you access the feeling, use it. Maybe you hear a friend congratulating you on the phone. Maybe you're checking a bank balance that makes you exhale with relief. Maybe you're waking up in a home that feels like yours. But understand this. The scene is just a vehicle. The feeling is the payload. The scene is the cup. The feeling is the water. It's the water that matters. 5 minutes in this state. Let it settle into you. Step 4. This is where mental diet meets SATs. And this is the part that makes this practice so much more powerful than simple meditation. While you're in that feeling state, begin your inner speech from that place. And start talking to yourself internally as the person who already has what you want. But not affirmations in the traditional sense. Not, I am rich, I am rich, I am rich. That's not how people who are actually rich think. What I'm talking about is actual inner conversation. The casual, mundane, ordinary way you'd think if the thing were already done. If you've been trying to manifest financial freedom, your inner speech from the fulfilled state isn't dramatic. It sounds more like, I should figure out what we're doing this weekend. Should we take that trip now or push it to next month? Either way, it works. Oh, I need to call the contractor about the kitchen. It's boring. It's casual. It's the inner speech of someone whose problem is already solved and who has moved on to thinking about other things. That's the naturalness principle in action. Neville said the right inner speech is the speech of fulfilled desire. And he said our inner talking, though unheard by others, is more productive of future conditions than all the audible promises and threats of men. Your morning inner speech, delivered in the right state, is more powerful than anything you could say out loud, write in a journal, or post on a vision board. 5 minutes of this. Let the inner dialogue flow naturally from the feeling. Step 5. Rise as that person. When the 15 minutes are up and you're ready to get out of bed, carry this state with you into your first actions of the day. The shower, the coffee, getting dressed, the drive. You're not doing a technique anymore. You're not trying to hold on to something. You're simply being the person you assumed yourself to be. Neville called this living in the end. The end has already happened. You've already arrived. The day ahead of you isn't the journey to get there. The day is just the unfolding of a reality that's already been decided. Here's what I want you to understand about everything we just covered. This morning practice is not about sending a wish up into the universe and hoping it comes back. It's not about attracting something from outside of yourself. It's not about positive thinking or raising your vibration or Any of that vague language that sounds nice but explains nothing. What you're doing every morning with this practice is deciding who you are before the world gets a chance to tell you who you are. Most people wake up and immediately let external conditions define their inner state. The news defines it, their bank account defines it, their ex's text message defines it, their boss's email defines it. And then they spend the entire day reacting to a reality that was built by yesterday's assumptions. They're living in an echo chamber of their own old feelings and calling it the real world. What Neville figured out and what made him fundamentally different from every other New Thought teacher of his era is that you don't have to fight the external world. You don't have to force circumstances to change. You don't have to manipulate people or outwork your problems. You just have to change the inner world, change your assumptions, change the feeling you sustain, change your mental diet. And the outer world has no choice but to conform. Not because of magic, because the outer world was never anything other than your consciousness pushed out in the first place. He said it as plainly as anyone has ever said anything. An assumption, though false, if persisted in, will harden into fact. So here's what I'm asking you to do. 15 minutes every morning. Not to visualize pretty pictures. Not to beg some external force for help. Not to raise your vibration as if you're tuning a radio. But to occupy the state of your wish fulfilled before your conscious mind has a chance to argue against it. To feed your subconscious the feeling of who you are becoming. To begin your mental diet each day with the richest, most nourishing inner speech you can offer yourself. To wake up and move into the feeling of your new life the way you'd move into a new home, not as a visitor, but as someone who lives there now. Everyone asks the same question. How long until it manifests? How long until I see results? And Neville already gave the answer. The speed is directly proportional to how natural the feeling becomes, which means the real question was never, when will it happen? The real question, the only question that actually matters is, how quickly can you make this new state feel like home? Start tomorrow morning, 15 minutes, and watch what happens.